Right, okay. Members, officers and members of the public watching online, welcome to this evening's council meeting. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Councillor Chris Arbron and I'm the Chairman of Craven District Council, and I will be presiding over this evening's meeting. In a mark of respect for Prince Philip, I propose that we will mark a 1 minute's silence for the contribution that Prince Philip has made to Britain and the Commonwealth throughout the 99 years of his life. Guy, on your stop clock, we will go.
Chair, I'm very happy to stand in and do the timing if you'd like to commence the minute silence now.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, councillors.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you. Greatly appreciated. Perhaps maybe a comment from myself initially. Acting upon Craven District Council's business about 7 or 8 years ago, I had the fortune of meeting Prince Philip at the Royal Garden Party, and I attended the garden party with my mum, and myself and others were waiting in line, and he asked me what my gong was, to which I responded, Chairman of Craven District Council, sir. The gentleman stood by me, said, Waverley, sir. So it brings to light the occasion that we do share with Prince Philip, and I think it's brilliant that he's such a really great man. Right, moving on. Would any other members like to give us an anecdote or say a piece about Prince Philip? Councillor Madeley? Or are you stopping the sunshine in your eyes?
Thank you. No, okay. No. I want to speak, Chairman. Or a man who has committed all his life to service. And it's not always been easy. He's had privilege, but he has had difficulties in people accepting him when he become the Prince Philip and the Duke of Edinburgh. In them days, it wasn't easy for people to come in from outside of the royal family, but being always 3 or 4 steps behind the Queen, it's sort of like my wife, really. And but the thing is, he did it so well, and he found something to do, and his passions are relevant today as they were in 1950. Very relevant indeed of what he did. and he had a sense of humour, which you've got to have, and his service to this country in the way he's conducted himself and the absolute loyalty to the Queen and advising her. And I just want to say, what a good man. What a good man. He made me laugh, and this is a celebration of his life, I think we should do. And we won't see the likes of him again, I don't think. Thank you very much.
Councillor Madeley, I couldn't agree with you enough. I've got Councillor Foster wishing to speak.
Yeah, I mean, thoughts have obviously got to be the Queen at the moment, but I sort of have maybe a slightly different view of Duke of Edinburgh, having done a couple of his Duke of Edinburgh awards, and sort of ended up walking around with blisters on my feet and sores, rucksack sores, walking in and out of Stainforth. So, yeah, it was at the time it wasn't that good. But one of the other things I did was I actually learned to cook during it, and I did a cookery course, and I still cook quite a few of those recipes to this day. So it's you know, it was a great idea as a Duke of Edinburgh. I would advise anybody who ever gets a chance to go and do it. But I think the modern rucksacks and things are quite a bit better. The boots certainly are. I think I was being a farmer's son, I think I was sent to do it in Wellington. So I'll leave my thoughts at that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Foster. I've got Councillor Metcalfe who'd like to add a few words.
Yeah, this is very much on a lighter note. Many years ago, when I used to be fit and healthy and play a lot of cricket, the Yorkshire team, ladies, we'd won the county championships for, I think it was the sixth time in a row, and we got invited to Buckingham Palace. And you can imagine we also were there with the Surrey men's team, and it was the Duke of Edinburgh that was welcoming us there. But we had a little misfortune with the trophy. On the way to Buckingham Palace, we dinted it, we dropped it. And then he came round and was congratulating us and everything, just to show his sort of sense of humour. He spotted the dint instantly and basically said, I hope you're better at catching a cricket ball than you are a trophy. So it just, yeah, my impression of him was a man that spoke his mind and had a really good sense of humour, just a snapshot. But yeah, my condolences with the Queen and the royal family. Thank you for that.
No problem. No problem at all. Absolutely no problem at all. Councillor Rose. Chris.
Thank you. Yes, the other side of DV, when I was working at Wharfdale, another member of staff and myself ran the DV course at bronze level, and it was extraordinarily good. It was lovely to see students blossom and to learn new skills, as Richard has pointed, Councillor Foster's pointed out, a possibility. And I quite agree, perhaps the challenge of the expedition was a little much, especially when it poured with rain, and camping at Kettlewell, or Malham as it was not a lot of fun, but many students went through the system and definitely benefited from it. So for me, that legacy of his is something very special indeed.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rose. Thank you very much indeed. That was a lovely statement. Right. In the absence of anybody else wishing to speak, unless anybody does have an inkling, can I ask the Democratic Services Manager to take a roll call of all members present and all the apologies for absence?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So I'll do apologies for absence at the same time. So we received apologies for absence from Councillors Mercer, Heseltine and Soloway. I'll just do a quick roll call if that's okay. Councillor Barrett.
Present.
Councillor Brockbank. No, don't think Councillor Brockbank's in attendance. Councillor Brown.
I'm here.
Councillor Foster.
Present.
Councillor Hanley.
Present.
Councillor Harbron.
Present.
Councillor Hull,
Present.
Councillor Ireton,
Present.
Councillor Jackwin,
Yeah, present.
Councillor Liz,
Present.
Councillor Madeley,
Here,
Councillor Metcalfe,
Present.
Councillor Morby,
Present.
Councillor Morell,
Present.
Councillor Mulligan,
Present.
Councillor Myers,
Present.
Councillor Noland,
I'm here.
Councillor Place. No, I don't think Councillor Place is present at the moment. Councillor Pringle,
Present.
Councillor Rose,
Present.
Councillor Shuttleworth,
well, he's definitely here.
He's definitely here.
Sorry, present.
thank you. Councillor Staveley,
Present.
Councillor Sutcliffe,
Present.
Councillor Wheeler,
Present.
and Councillor Whitaker.
Present.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Guy. Thank you. Right, members. We're going to go on to item number 2, which is the minutes of the previous council meeting. However, as I was partly involved in the meeting, I'm going to ask Councillor Sutcliffe if he would like to propose these minutes, because I wouldn't really be legally allowed to, and ask a seconder of the person or persons that may have been at the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I seem to recollect on that occasion I chaired most of the meeting for technical reasons beyond your control. So at this point, I would be pleased to request confirmation of the minutes if no member has any objection to any element of the minutes. There are no hands up, so I'll formally move approval of the minutes, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Members?
If somebody else can second it. Councillor Myers, are you going to second it?
Second, Chairman.
Thank you.
Any?
Back to yourself, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sutcliffe. Yeah, thank you very much. Is there anybody objecting to the minutes? It doesn't appear to be anybody. So, okay, fantastic. That will move us on nicely to public participation. I understand, Guy, that there isn't going to be any public participation yet again. Correct?
That's correct, Chairman. There are no members of the public in attendance at this evening's meeting.
Thank you very much indeed, Guy. Thank you. Okay, this is one for Annette. Declarations of interest. Members, have we got any? It would appear not. Okay. Well, that brings us on to item number 5. Consultation relating to the structure of local government in North Yorkshire going forward. I think for this one, I think we're going to have the leader of the council. Councillor Foster, would you like to introduce the motion?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. We've got to the stage where there's consultations up and running for local government reorganisation. The recommendations are here, sort of as read. 2.3, I'm hoping most of you have actually filled in your own responses. And then moving on, 2.4, it's a case of do we respond either A or B? Well, or C, not respond at all. Well, I believe we ought to, and I'm moving with the recommendations that we respond both at A and B, because the way the consultation's been carried out, a lot of our residents haven't and won't have responded. It's not a referendum. It's got online consultation. It doesn't make it easy for everybody. We've tried to take written response into consideration, and we've tried to bring them in to forward them to the minister. But I just think that we're the elected representatives and we ought to respond. The responses are written in the appendices. I'd just like to add actually to the appendices A of the one on ours. 2 really on green issues, because even though they went down in the initial submission, I don't think they're here. And sort of Councillor Liss has sort of reminded me that we're a green council. Not that I need reminding that we're in a green time and a green world, but
Yeah.
but I put in a couple of extra lines in there, which is identify opportunities at local and sub-regional level for new clean growth, building on our strengths of low carbon technologies and our local bioeconomy. And the second one being develop place and communities that rise to the challenge of climate change, delivering energy efficient, eco-friendly housing, business and transport opportunities. These are actually in the original submission, but I don't think it was an harm to strengthen those. I do believe a response from Craven does hold more weight than individual members' responses, but at the same time, that is not to distract. And I've sent my own personal response down to this. I haven't held back. But I think the council one, I think it does have that bit more gravitas, and I do believe, like I say, that we ought to be responding on behalf of our residents. And I'd also like to add a 2.5 that we do write a letter from this council saying that we do think this is an awful time to be doing local government reorganisation. We are supposed to be building back, and so I believe a letter ought to go up with that. And also just saying that, you know, the consultation has been, we'll word it, I'll get the chief exec to word it, but the consultation has been of the local residents, I think, has been very, very poor, and we need to make that clear. So so we're proposing that the council write a letter down those lines. Well, we can forward it to all members so they can see that. I'm joking, looking for the chief executive, so they can see what our letter was. And I'm sure you'll agree that it's a really bad time for Craven. You know, it's we will lose officers over this at a time when we should be rebuilding, because they're going to look elsewhere for their career paths. You know, if this happens, Craven's going, and you can't blame officers for doing that. And then it will be really hard to recruit back to this authority. So not only are we doing this at a time when a lot of people have been in lockdown and haven't been out the house, we haven't been able to go and talk to anybody particular. So I think we can word that letter quite well between myself and the chief executive. But at the same time, I'm moving the recommendation 2.1 now to 2.5, and with under 2.4, I believe we ought to respond with both A and B. So I'll leave it at that.
I'll second those.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Foster. Councillor Myers, have you got anything to add to that, or
well,
right?
I'll second it, Chairman, if I may. And just to really echo what the leader has said, public support, the government identifies as a very important element to this, and it's very important that we communicate. If this is your experience, certainly what my experience of the public's view of local government reorganisation, and overwhelmingly my experience amongst those I represent and outside of my particular patch, is that they do not think this is an appropriate time for local government. However, given the circumstances that we're in, they do express a preference, and that is for the east option. And so I think it's quite right that we put that across to government. And I think that recommendations of the report and those amended by the leader, important elements, both the emphasising the need to build back green, which is important, but also to let central government know that whilst we may play this game, we don't approve of it, and that our focus is on the good well-being and recovery of our residents and businesses, and that our officers are already stretched without spending the next 2 years working on plans for a unitary authority. Their focus should be on the day job. That's what we're here for. So I do second the thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Myers. In the true traditions of debate, you will have an opportunity of summing up, as will Councillor Foster. But in the meantime, I've got Councillor Maidler that would like to debate. Councillor Maidler.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I want to agree with Councillor Myers and Councillor Foster here. And I want to go a bit further here. It is the wrong time. It's the wrong plan. And this is the biggest reorganisation of local government in North Yorkshire and Craven since '74. And we are doing this at a time where time should be spent on what we need to do to come out of this terrible crisis we have been through. And I also believe we should have had a referendum on this. Nowhere here is the status quo. It's an exercise by actually government, which is the wrong exercise to do. They keep on about local government and how it works, want to give it back to the region. But when you want to ask the people how they want to do it, they can send in their feelings to the council itself, powers that be, who are going to make this decision. It is not good enough. And as Councillor Myers says, it's a game. We all know it's a game. People have said, oh, it's definitely going to be this, it's going to be all Yorkshire minus whatever. It's a game, and we haven't been allowed to see the hand of, like playing poker. We are playing blind here, and it's a shame it has come to this. But I do support the leader and the deputy leader on their way forward with this. So I will be voting accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Maidley. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah.
Is it? Sure.
I have got Councillor Brown, but I kind of thought that Councillor Wheeler was also wanting to speak as well. But we're going to Councillor Brown first, and then Councillor Wheeler gives us an opportunity to tell us whether or not he wanted to speak. Okay. Councillor Brown.
Okay. I'm all in favour of genuine consultation on this via the ballot box. The consultation we're being offered is seriously stacked and very, very difficult to deal with. We aren't asked whether we would like to see Craven District Council abolished or not. The ordinary citizens aren't asked that question. They're only asked 5 questions about which of 2 ways of abolishing Craven District Council they might find preferable, and then given a chance for any other comments which don't come across as being particularly welcome. So I find the whole consultation exercise very difficult, and I find it very difficult to justify why a constitutional change should take place without the people who are impacting it having an opportunity to say what they think at the ballot box. I recollect when Labour tried to establish a Yorkshire Assembly, they put it before the voters and the voters roundly rejected it. We're not given the opportunity to put this before the voters and see what they think. I'm also all in favour of devolution. I think more powerful local people is a really good thing, but I'm not in favour of decisions being made in Northallerton that are more remote and leave politicians more distant from local communities at a time when that connection between the two is absolutely vital. So I completely buy and I'm on board with everything that Councillor Foster said, what Councillor Maidley said, what Councillor Myers said. I really am disappointed by the way this has been done and approached, and the attitude towards public participation. And being realistic, Craven District Council must submit a response, and being realistic, you have to play the game and submit that response in the terms that it's asked for. I personally can't go along with everything in that response that you found it necessary to say in order to have standard chance of being taken seriously in Whitehall. I don't believe, for instance, what we've written that the proposal, either of the proposals, protects and strengthens local democracy. That's what we've had to say about our own. I don't think that's actually true. I think it weakens local democracy, even ours. It just weakens it less. I don't believe there'll be a saving of 56 million. I'm extremely cynical about reorganisations producing savings. So I can't really sign up for that very easily. I don't believe it's going to unlock the potential of York. You know, I do find difficulties of involving, of losing that local awareness for York every bit as much as the difficulties of losing it for Craven. And I also don't believe that either proposal is going to help the levelling up of the northern economy. So that also gives me difficulty. So I'm afraid that though I agree with the sentiments expressed so far, I can't sign up to every detail of the response. So I'm not going to stand in the way. I shall personally abstain, but have complete understanding of why you've written what you've written. So I shall abstain on it, but you know, fully understand the nature and the tone of what you've said. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Brown. Okay, so you're going to be abstaining. Okay, that's fine. Councillor Eric Jacquin.
Good evening. I echo Andy Brown's comments about the potential of generating savings. But if we do generate savings, I feel that they should be invested in reinstating the services which the current district council have cut or curtailed. The report on paragraph 3.7 gives us the questions in the consultation document. Does you support the proposal from the council? Not all of it. Do you have any other comments with regard to the proposed reorganisation at question 6? I was asking the question about the authority's first submission to include proportional representation for the elections, and was told that it would not be entertained if proportional representation was mentioned in our immediate submission. Is the same likely to happen this time? And even if we wanted to elect members by proportional representation, would our comment be rejected out of hand straight away? Just hoping that the Secretary of State has to make a balanced judgment, but he doesn't allow status quo. Unhappy.
Thank you very much. Councillor Jacquin, just to recap, your question 6, did you want an officer response?
Well, I'd like some kind of submission in the information that we send, but
Okay.
I'm not sure whether if we do send a submission about proportional representation, the whole of our submission will be kicked into touch before the Secretary of State gets a chance to read it.
Right, okay. Not too sure if we've got an officer to actually answer that question, but don't you worry about it. I'll park it to one side for a little while. Councillor Foster.
I was just wondering if the Chief Exec could answer that. I know there is something on first past the post at the moment with this, and it's a case of he hasn't frozen.
Okay. Chief Executive, Paul.
Yeah, the original proposal was agreed by the 6 districts and borough councils, and I'll pick up finance issue as well.
Right.
So the work that was done was based on authorities that have been through this process. So it wasn't, fingers in the air, what do we think we can achieve? It was actually looking at the proposals that have been implemented, Dorset being the most recent one, and seeing what savings that they had accrued, what they said they'd accrue, and actually what they achieved. So that's the whole basis for the financial savings, which are realistic in terms of what's been done and what's actually being produced. In terms of PR, that unfortunately that's never gained any support from any of the subscribers to the proposal. Certainly, if you look at the way the London mayoral elections will be going, that will become first past the post. So, with regret, I just don't think there'd be any traction whatsoever from MHCLG if we went down that route. It potentially could distract, and it could not help the proposal that is put forward.
But given the response that you've said, if our electors who we represent think differently, would that impress the minister or make him more aware of choosing himself?
Well, all I can say is that there have been referendums in the past on this very subject, and they were ignored, in truth. That was previous governments, not this current government. And certainly the discussions which are going on in Somerset at the moment, who wanted a referendum, and it appears that the minister is trying to persuade them not to. So I'm not sure how much influence that would have, even if it was the whole electorate who went in favour of, say, PR or even East-West split. Or status quo. I'm genuinely not sure of the influence that would have.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you. I'm assuming that Councillor Jacqueline is going to be happy with the response. I'm going to move on to Councillor Madeley. Councillor Madeley.
Yes, it's just to come back on Councillor Jacqueline's point here. Has been for many years support of PR. It's not going to happen like it is in Scotland for local elections, for all local elections. It's a question I do want to ask. If we do get a mayor, which is probably likely, that will be under a PR system, because some mayors are voted on a PR system. What is the view of the Chief Officer on that? And could you give me the view of the councils? Did they discuss that?
Through you, Chair, the mayoral position would come as a result of the combined authority. So the first step would be to establish the shadow unitary or unitaries throughout North Yorkshire. It would then go live potentially April 2023, and then a combined authority, so the election of the mayor for the combined authority would then take place potentially in 2024. And the whole concept of that is about devolution. I would also add that the white paper on devolution was due last spring, last summer, before Christmas, and I'm not sure that it will be delivered before this Christmas. So that devolution.
Can I just ask another quick question, Paul? Dorset, who's one of the most recent and like for like counties in a certain way to us, have they got a mayor now?
No, the unitary authority does not have a mayor.
No. Is it going to go for a mayor?
That will depend if they form a combined authority, because the mayor will come on the back of the combined authority. So West Yorkshire is a good example. They will have their mayoral elections for the combined authority in May this year, and they are the latest combined authority.
Yeah, and that is. Yeah, all right then. Thank you very much. Good night. Thank you. That's a good. Thank you, Paul. Interesting.
Thank you.
Or not.
I'm just trying to run a normal debate.
Thank you.
There just seems to be a one-sided conversation between you and the Chief Executive. So I'm going to go to Councillor Nolan, who also would like to speak. Councillor Nolan.
Thank you, Councillor Harben. Chair. Yeah, just a short point. I'm very disappointed from Peter Mayley's comments from the Labour Party about PR that it isn't going to happen. I just want to correct something that our chief exec said, though, that the London elections are on a combination. There's a first past the post for, I think, the 14 single member constituencies. Another 11 are elected on what is generally called an additional member system. So there is evidence throughout the rest of the UK, Scotland, London, Northern Ireland, these local governments are elected with part PR or all PR. So there's a danger under this new authority or pair of authorities that we're going to have, that the new areas, voting areas, would be 5,000 to 6,000 voters. And it's very likely that smaller parties will be squeezed. And of course, I'm saying that because I'm a member of the Green Party and I represent the Green Party on Craven District Council. And the big problem with our election system in this country at local and national level is it is undemocratic. We have one MP at the moment. I know we're talking locally, but one MP, Caroline Lucas, but we achieved something like 900,000 votes UK-wide.
Is there a question coming?
Yes, more or less.
All right, come on.
Thank you, Councillor Harben, if you let me speak. The average vote for a Conservative MP is about 30,000. For a Labour MP, it's about 40,000. Just in case Peter Mayler's missed this, over 200 constituency Labour parties throughout the UK have voted for PR. I really am disappointed. I remember Councillor Foster telling us that our submission from Craven would not be accepted with a portion of PR. I back Councillor Jacqueline's comment that perhaps if we in this area had said, I know there's been very little consultation of anybody in this area, councillors, chairs, whoever, but if perhaps we had said we would like some form of PR in the new, to elect members to the new authority, then perhaps it could have been considered. And I think I did say at the time, I would have liked to see something in that. So I'm very disappointed that there's no aspect of PR in our proposal from Craven District Council. And I'd like to disagree with Peter Madeley. It is coming. And it's the only way Labour are ever going to get back into government. Thank you, Councillor Harben.
Councillor Nolan, thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure. Always a pleasure.
Is the chairman aware? Would have been, that would have been enough. Councillor Hull.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm struggling a bit with the motion on the table and will probably need to abstain. I have two key reasons for this. One, it relates to the mayor, and I know we've just had some further information there, that I feel a single mayor working across East-West will inevitably find themselves conflicted if required to choose between the East and the West. This is further confused, I believe, by central government and most of the people who live in England who do not really understand the distinctions between West Yorkshire, South Yorkshire and North Yorkshire. So that's a real worry for me. The second one, and obviously with my background, and I've talked about this before, I do believe that social care is acknowledged to be the next national challenge, particularly post-pandemic, both in terms of delivery and funding. Consequently, to me, it does not seem the moment in time, the right moment in time, to unpick the existing county-wide arrangements, albeit I understand when we had the chance to speak to the county team, the arrangements with the area team. But again, it relates to the risk, I think, of losing out on national funding if we don't, we dismantle at this key stage the arrangements for social care, be they good or bad at the moment. So for those reasons, I have given this a lot of careful thought. I feel my most appropriate action is to abstain on the motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Hull. Councillor Foster, and I've got Councillor Paul Shevlin, but Councillor Foster, please. Sorry.
I was sort of going to answer a few of the questions that have been asked and sum up. There didn't appear to be any other hands up, so I thought I'd go for it if I got a chance. On Councillor Hull's, the mayor would be over the two unitaries, either York and North Yorkshire, or would be over the east and the west of the county of North Yorkshire, the two unitaries there. So the mayor's always going to be over that geography, whether it's two unitaries, mini York and massive North Yorkshire, and that really would be unbalanced because the mayor in York with 200,000 residents and North Yorkshire with 600,000 residents, the organisation below that would have to have 3 votes for North Yorkshire and 1 vote for York. So that's why we brought York into this model, so York wasn't left out. That's if a mayor comes. There's no guarantee a mayor's coming at the moment. We've told we're probably 3rd in the list, but they've only done 2, so therefore we're 3rd off. We're 3rd last place. Devolution probably started this, but then we'll seem to lose devolution and this seemed to gain pace. It didn't come from us, that came from the minister, I would say, but then was backed up by county, which caused this. I would also like to sort of, county actually submitted the first bid for this. We asked them not to, but they did it. They started the process, and we had actually built up a bid because we were told to do it, and then we were told we might not need to do it, and then we were told if we sent a bid in, if one of us, any authority sent a bid in, it would be on the table and it would be there. And we felt the county one needed a challenger as much as anything. North Yorkshire is massive, putting Bentham and Ingleton with Scarborough and Whitby is a real problem. We know that from highways and everything else. And so that's where East West was formed from. We looked at the models and everything else. As far as adult social care, children's social care, Wendy, I couldn't agree with you more. But I think that we don't have to break it up. It isn't part of our model that we necessarily need to break it up. We could bring York into the fold of North Yorkshire. York's improving with its adult social care and its children's social care, but it's not as good as North Yorkshire. We could choose to share that service. These are things that we're going to build through to do. So a lot of this is building. I even think the electoral model, it's not in the submission, but it doesn't mean that the shadow authority might not decide to elect to that. There's a lot of choices to be made post this. Not everything's made today, if you know what I mean. The submissions have got us to a stage of this is how we'd roughly form it. What happens after that? It's going to be a huge amount of debate, and this is one of the reasons why this is such a bad time. It's not only as officers, but as members, we're going to be building these authorities. And whichever one it is, if that's North Yorkshire, the North Yorkshire Authority, and we're all off into that, we'll still have to have Craven's voice and make sure Craven's voice is heard in that, so that adult services and children's services in Craven are protected, so that highways and everything else are protected within that, and so that all the services that we currently run, we make sure that those services are taken on the level that we do, be it our bin service or anything else. I don't want to see us take a step back from that. Garden waste is a very different value right the way across North Yorkshire, and Craven is one of the cheapest. So our residents will be really happy if we all go up to the highest, which I think is double. There's things like that need to be taken into account. It might be a minute decision, but they took a big decision at Craven to make them originally to charge for these things and what rate to charge.
Are you summing up, Councillor Foster?
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to explain that this is.
Right, sorry.
There's a huge amount of work still to do with this, and I think our submission at the moment is a submission on the proposals and not on the fine detail, but the detail's going to be there. So I know it's Councillor Mulligan's coming in, but I sort of thought as proposer I'd finish this, but I'm going to get told off now probably.
I'm trying to keep order. That's all I'm trying to do. Councillor Mulligan is next, actually. So let's have a listen from Councillor Mulligan. Councillor Mulligan.
Thank you, Chairman. And I'm sorry, Richard, I didn't realize you were going to sum up. I thought that the Chairman would ask for any further questions. But I just have a question and then maybe a comment after I get a response to the question. And the question is in 2.4, it says that we're we're asked to consider the draft responses at appendices A and B prepared by officers. And I just would like to know who the officers were that wrote those appendices, and maybe Paul Shevlin or somebody could answer that question.
Through you, Chair, quite happy to answer.
Yeah, okay.
It was a combination of the chief execs and the lead officers across the 6 district councils who prepared those appendices.
Thank you. I mean, the reason I ask is it seems to me that a lot of the case being made for the unitary of 2 resides in York, and what can be done for York. And I have a difficulty with that we're making that case on behalf of Craven, because what the appendices seem to say is that York is a poorly run council and it needs to improve its adult services and children's services. It's in a very bad way financially, and we're going to come in and rescue it. And if I was anyone involved in York, I would feel quite sort of insulted by that, because, and I know that York is completely against this proposal, but to sort of tell York that we know what's better for York than what York does, I just find it very curious. I find the whole thing very curious that we're using that as to make the case for a dual unitary. And I know there's been recently, there's been a lot of, I wouldn't say falling out, but there's been some friction amongst some of the district councils about going forward with this. So I'm just concerned that we're submitting something that it seems to me is going to be submitted by all the districts, the same message, and it's focused on York, and it doesn't really, I don't see a lot of Craven in these appendices. And so, like several other councillors, I'll have to abstain. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Mulligan. Would you like to respond to that, Councillor Foster, or even Chief Executive? And then I'm going to wrap it all up.
I'll sum up by summing up. York's intrinsic to the East-West model. I mean, we are sending an East-West model down, and in the east part of it is York. Yeah, it is a bit of an awkward one. You know, it's already a unitary, so therefore it's moving it out. I mean, York does have intrinsic problems. There's a bit of denial in York. I mean, you look at the finances; they've actually got less reserves than Craven District Council have capital reserves. So there's problems. They don't see it, and they haven't got a local plan. And if they did put a local plan in place, they really struggle, because the land that they need to build on is actually in Selwood, because all the land around York floods. And so they need to be part of a larger organisation. They're never going to get a local plan. The land in the middle of York, we've been trying to develop for years. I mean, I think I've been on the housing board now for something like 16 years. And it's been on, and it was on long before I went on that. And they finally get into the stage where it's going to get developed. But it's 16 years. I mean, it sort of makes some of our longer projects look quite quick going through the mill. But yeah, York's intrinsic to the model. It should be commented on. We can't write a response down without commenting about York. Yeah, we will be linked to it via a mayor if we get a mayor in a mayoral system. I sort of disagree with that to a large extent, because I always believe that we should have been linked with West Yorkshire, but we weren't allowed to do that. But that's our native and our local ally, and it's where our roads and our rail networks go to. Anyway, I'll shut up.
Okay, Councillor Myers, and then I actually think it's appropriate then to go to the board, but Councillor Myers.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, just on points raised by my good friend, Councillor Mulligan. One of the great plays that the North Yorkshire County Council bid has made is an emotional tug at the heartstrings of residents of North Yorkshire, that the East-West model would destroy the historic county of North Yorkshire. We were never part of the historic riding of the North Riding, or Harrogate. But of course, York was historically a part of the North Riding. It didn't stand alone. It wasn't a unitary. So that has a shared history. with North Yorkshire, which we don't. But in the same way that he feels for the councillors of York who may be slightly insulted by the suggestion made by the districts that an east-west model would run York better, I, on behalf of Craven Council and this council, am greatly insulted by the suggestion from North Yorkshire County Council that it would in some way run Craven better, because I don't believe it would. I think we'd run highways far better on our patch than they do. Perhaps they'd like to devolve some of those powers to us.
Thank you very much. Right, okay. Going forward, Guy, are we going to do a roll call voting method tonight?
Yes, we will require one. I don't know whether you just want to check with Councillor Morby whether he wanted to speak. I noticed you did.
Well, I don't understand. I can't see. I can't see anybody, but Councillor Morby is more than welcome to speak if Councillor Morby would like to.
Oh, I was just.
Apologies, Councillor Morby. Honestly, I couldn't see you on the side bit, but off you go, mate. Sorry.
No, I just put me the action thumb up for what Councillor Myers said. That's all. I fully agree with him regarding the highway situation in North Yorkshire. Okay, thank you.
Can we go to the vote, Chairman?
The question will be put. Guy, will you do the roll call of members that will be for and against?
Yeah, okay, well, I mean, I think just to clarify before we move to the vote, it's been moved and seconded. Recommendations 2.1 to 2.4, A and B, to include strengthening reference to the green issues and developing place and communities, plus an additional paragraph 2.5, that a letter be written to the Secretary of State expressing the Council's view that it is not the right time to undertake local government reorganisation. So if members could indicate whether they're for, against, or they wish to abstain, starting with Councillor Barrett.
I'm going to abstain, Chairman.
Councillor Brown.
Abstain.
Councillor Foster.
For.
Councillor Hanley.
For.
Councillor Harbron.
For.
Councillor Hull.
Abstain.
Councillor Ireton.
For.
Councillor Jackwin.
Abstain. Reluctantly.
Councillor Liz.
For.
Councillor Madeley.
For.
Councillor Metcalfe.
For.
Councillor Morby.
For.
Councillor Morell.
Abstain.
Councillor Mulligan.
Abstain.
Was that abstain, Councillor Mulligan?
Yes, abstain.
Thank you. Councillor Myers.
For.
Councillor Noland.
Abstain.
Councillor Place.
For.
Councillor Pringle.
Abstain.
I think Councillor Rose has left us. Councillor Shuttleworth.
For.
Councillor Staveley.
For.
Councillor Sutcliffe.
For.
Councillor Wheeler.
For.
And Councillor Whittaker.
For.
Just add those up.
Yeah.
Okay, so there were 15 for the motion and there were 8 abstentions.
Thank you very much, Guy. The motion's passed. May I go on to item number 6, Guy?
Yes, Chairman, there are no late items of business to consider.
Okay, so therefore, the date of the next council meeting is 27th of April 2021. Would that still be correct? 6:30.
That's correct, Chairman. This was an extraordinary council meeting, so the next meeting is a sort of scheduled ordinary council meeting.
Right, in that case, I think that's good. So item number, bid you all farewell and safe journey back home.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.